caught her with our neighbor. During my own birthday party. If you're new here, hi, I'm the guy who managed to get his heart steamrolled on the one day the universe is supposed to hand you confetti. This is the story of how my birthday turned into a cautionary tale, a comedy of errors, and a public service announcement about locking your bedroom door, all at the same time. The morning started cinematic. I woke up to a string of HBD King texts, the kind you pretend you don't care about but keep rereading anyway. The kitchen smelled like frosting and cheap coffee. She, my girlfriend, was already up, in an oversized hoodie and those fuzzy socks that make you forget you have problems, whisking icing like she was auditioning for a wholesome commercial. She kissed my cheek, called me birthday boy, and said the 6 words that later would feel like a practical joke: tonight is going to be perfect. We spent the day setting up the apartment. Streamers across the ceiling like pastel spiderwebs. Balloons taped to the hallway, because we couldn't find helium and we're not magicians. A playlist labeled My Day but also everyone else's, which was just throwback hits and 2 guilty pleasure bangers that I swore I didn't like. I cleaned the bathroom like I expected a museum inspector, she arranged chips and bowls like a gallery piece, and by 7 the doorbell started doing cardio. Friends rolled in with noise and pizza and questionable wine. The neighbor from across the hall, Mr. Friendly Handshake, showed up too, holding a bottle of aged something like a trophy. He's older, like your dad's gym buddy who tells you how it was even when you didn't ask. He wore a collared shirt and this cologne that enters a room 5 minutes before he does. He said, "Happy birthday, champ," with the confident warmth of a man who has never fumbled a high five in his life. She laughed at one of his stories about the good old days at the lake, and I didn't think anything about it because it's my birthday, I'm 2 slices deep, and there's a stack of paper plates leaning like Pisa and daring gravity to try me. Do I still think about it? Yes. Sometimes the scene replays like a clip you didn't ask to autoplay. Sometimes I walk past the bedroom and my brain goes, "Hey, remember your villain origin story?" and I have to tell it to shut up and go water the basil. Sometimes I pass him in the hallway and I feel the old heat rise, and then I remember that I don't want to be a permanent bonfire, I want to be a porch light. It helps to remember who I am when nobody's watching, a person who buys striped sheets, who oversalts pasta, who will pause the song to hear you talk even if the chorus is the good part. If you made it this far and you're waiting for the moral, I don't have a fortune cookie version. I have this: lock your doors, but more importantly, learn your lines. Don't wait for your birthday to decide what you deserve. The people who love you will not require dim lighting to do it. And if you ever find yourself laughing in a hallway because reality is too big to fit in your chest, breathe, blow out the candles in your mind, and make the kind of wish that doesn't depend on someone else's hands. One more thing. I kept 1 balloon from that night, half deflated and pathetic, taped to the back of a chair like a sleepy satellite. I thought I'd pop it for the symbolism. I didn't. I let it shrink on its own until it rested in the palm of my hand like a found heart. It made me weirdly hopeful. Not every ending needs an explosion. Some things deflate slowly. Some things you set down gently. Some things, like you on the morning after, keep a little air in them anyway. After she left, I sat at the kitchen table with a slice of cake on a paper plate and finally ate it. It tasted like sugar and defeat and the tiniest sprinkle of relief. I posted a picture of the empty living room with the caption, "Well, that escalated quickly." The comments came in, laughing emojis, heart emojis, the universal language of people trying to hold you together with pixels. Over the next week, I learned new routines. I bought new sheets, bright, ridiculous ones with stripes like a beach towel because subtlety had done me dirty. I took long showers and longer walks. I opened windows. I let the neighbor's cologne diffuse out of my walls and my brain. I blocked her on socials and then unblocked her because I'm human and curiosity has opposable thumbs. I wrote a list titled Things That Are Mine, and it included my time, my peace, my playlists, my ridiculous bathrobe, my tiny stupid basil plant on the sill that refuses to die. He tried to talk to me in the elevator once, brought up the weather, which felt like he was trying to find a neutral planet where we could be citizens again. I nodded. I looked at the numbers light up. I got out on my floor like evacuating a sinking ship. She messaged me on day 8. A real message, not the crisis kind. "I'm starting therapy," she wrote. No ask. Just thought you should know. I stared at the text for a long time, feeling the weird mix of anger and gladness and too late stirred into one confusing soup. And then there was the part where I told my mom. I expected a lecture, and I told you so about red flags I pretended were funky decor. She just said, "I hate this for you," with the soft firmness of someone who has cleaned up more dishes after more storms than I will ever see. She sent me a package, a scented candle called New Beginnings, and a handwritten card reminding me that good people sometimes do stupid things and you're still allowed to be okay. The only time I actually cried, not the dramatic movie cry, the quiet leaky one, was when I found a Polaroid under the couch from last summer. We were on the balcony, she had her hair in a makeshift bun and I had barbecue sauce on my shirt, and we looked like two people who didn't know about the trapdoor under our feet. I put the photo in a drawer, then took it out, then put it back in. Healing, it turns out, is indecisive. A few Fridays later, Malik and the others came over for a redo night. "No birthday, just boys and pasta," he said, showing up with too many groceries and the patience of a saint. The night felt easy in the way good friendships do, jokes like boomerangs, stories that don't need ending punctuation, someone falling asleep mid-movie and the rest of us piling blankets on them like a ritual. At midnight, they sang Happy Birthday ironically, which somehow made the song better. We cut a cake for no reason. There are worse religions than that. At 3 a.m., my phone lit up. Her name. Then a paragraph that started with please and ended with "it was a mistake" and had a lot of "I swear" in between. I put the phone face down like a burial. At 4, a message from him: "I take full responsibility. We'll speak to you man-to-man tomorrow." I laughed again because the phrase man-to-man belongs in a locker room, not in the SMS thread of the life you just set on fire. Morning arrived looking like a bad filter. I made coffee, which tasted like regret but hotter. I went for a run because motion was the only sentence I could finish. Every time I passed our building, I half expected to see a banner that said, "Congrats on surviving." At noon, he knocked. No cologne this time, maybe his conscience wore it. He stood in my doorway with a face stitched into apology. "I came to say I'm sorry," he began, then launched into a confession that sounded like he'd rehearsed it in a mirror. I crossed a line. "I've been lonely. I misread signals. I respect you." He said respect like a brand name. "You did not misread anything," I said. "You read exactly what you wanted." He nodded. "I'll tell my wife," he said. "Okay," I said. "Tell yourself, too." He looked past me, into the apartment, into the empty space where last night had danced. "If it helps," he said, pausing, "it wasn't planned." "No one ever schedules disasters," I said. "They just RSVP yes when the moment invites them." He winced. "Fair." He held out an envelope. For the cleaning, the sheets, the whatever. It felt like a bribe, or a bandage, or both. I didn't take it. "Keep it," I said. "Buy a lock for your boundaries." He laughed. The hallway smelled like lemons again, which made me consider becoming the kind of person who bans all citrus. She texted around 2. "Can I come get the rest of my things?" I said yes because living in limbo is a full-time job and I already have one. She came with a friend, the neutral kind who carries boxes and holds space. We moved silently through the apartment like astronauts on a planet with too much gravity. In the bedroom, she touched the empty mattress and flinched. "I know there's no way to fix what I broke," she said. I still wanted to say I know. I nodded. "Knowing is a good start," I said, "when you finally decide to start." She looked at me for a long second that felt like a small eternity. "Happy birthday," she whispered, like a prayer that also knew it was too late. He nodded, one of those slow nods that men practice in mirrors when they want to look honorable, and retreated down the stairs, his cologne trailing after him like a ghost with a gym membership. I turned to her. "Pack a bag." Her chin trembled. "Please don't do this tonight," she said. "Not on your birthday." "You already did this tonight," I said. "On my birthday." We went back into the apartment. Some friends were leaving, doing the awkward hug that says "I love you" and I'm terrified of saying the wrong thing. A couple of real ones stayed, starting the cleanup without being asked. I walked past them to our bedroom, and grabbed her suitcase from under the bed. The sheets looked like they'd been thrown by a storm that didn't pay rent. I didn't touch them. She packed in silence, except for the little hiccup noises people make when they're trying not to cry. I handed her a hoodie she liked. It felt like the universe prank calling me. At the door, she put her hand on my chest like she had 1,000 times. "I love you," she said. "I believe you," I said, "and that's the worst part." She left. He left. The party became post-party. The apartment had the exhausted smell of trampled chips and vanilla candles that fought bravely and lost. My friend Malik handed me a trash bag and said, softly, "You don't have to be a hero tonight. You can just be human." We cleaned in a quiet way. Someone washed the cake knife as if it had seen too much. At 2 a.m., the last friend left and the apartment exhaled. I stood in the doorway of the bedroom like a museum visitor staring at a painting of a crime scene. I stripped the bed and stuffed the sheets into a garbage bag. Dramatic? Yes. Necessary? Also yes. When I took the bag to the chute, I bumped into neighbor's wife's best friend on the third-floor landing. She raised her eyebrows. "He left with a suit bag," she said. "Said he had an early meeting." "In what, temptation?" I shrugged. "I don't know anything," I said, which was true in the cosmic sense. She came out first, in a hurry, whispering, "Please, can we talk?" "Not here." He hovered behind her, straightening his collar, clearing his throat like he'd swallowed a lecture. "Let me explain," she said. "We've been," and I put up a hand because the hallway was where secrets go to smoke, not where they go to grow. I walked into the bathroom and locked the door. It's wild how small rooms can hold huge feelings. My reflection looked like a guy who'd just seen a magic trick where the rabbit was his relationship and the hat was a lie. I ran water just to have a sound. My phone buzzed with a birthday text from my aunt, "Make sure you get cake." I wanted to send back the most unhinged cake emoji in the world. When I came out, the living room shifted. People clocked my face and instinctively lowered their voices. She had disappeared again. He was nowhere. Someone yelled, too brightly, "Cake time," and I had this moment where I considered cutting the cake with a vengeance monologue. Instead, I grabbed plates. Mechanical kindness. Survival by manners. We sang. It was off-key and too loud, but I swear there was tenderness in it, like people stitching you up with whatever thread they can find. I blew out the candles and made a wish I won't tell you, because it wasn't for her to come back. It was for me to get out of the night alive. After the cake, I went hunting. I found her in the building's stairwell, halfway between floors, like she couldn't decide which life to choose. He was a floor below, pretending to scroll his phone with the absorbed focus of a man wishing for invisibility. "Talk," I said. "I'm sorry," she whispered, and the words came out already crying. "It just," I said. My voice was calm, like a lake hiding a monster. "Just happened? Like weather?" She looked at the concrete step as if it would instruct her. "I felt ignored," she said. "You've been busy, distracted, in your own head." He listened. The way she said "listen" turned the syllables into an alibi. I wanted to argue every point. I wanted to list my grocery runs, my back rubs, my jokes delivered mid-traffic jam to keep her from spiraling. But there's no scorecard that makes betrayal into a misunderstanding. He cleared his throat below us. "It's my fault," he said, stepping up one stair like a politician offering a condolence. "I had too much to drink. I should go." "You should," I said. "Go home to your wife." "She's away," he said, as if that made the math better. "I wasn't asking where she is," I said. "I was reminding you she exists." By 9, the apartment was a hurricane that paid rent. Someone tried to saber a bottle of Prosecco with a butter knife. Someone else opened the freezer and found the emergency nuggets and thought they were treasure. I was bouncing between toasts and hugs, and no, seriously, I'm glad you came, and every time I looked over, she was there, smiling at me like the human version of the warm light on a cheap lamp. She fixed my collar. She stole a fry. She whispered make a wish later in that teasing way that makes you believe wishes work. At 10:45, I realized I hadn't seen her in a bit. No big deal. She's probably in the kitchen making another charcuterie board out of whatever survived. I checked. Kitchen, a crime scene of crackers. Living room, chaos. Bathroom, door ajar, lights off. Balcony, 2 people debating whether the moon counts as a star, but not her. I did the polite boyfriend thing and didn't panic. Then 5 minutes became 15, and the music kept throwing elbows, and my stomach did that thing where it shrinks into a raisin and says, "We've been here before." I went down the hallway. Our bedroom door was mostly closed, not all the way, just enough to make you feel like you're trespassing. The light was off, but there was that thin strip of brightness from the street sneaking in through the blinds, cutting the room into black and silver. I pushed the door. Let me freeze frame it. Her hair on my pillow. His arm where my arm should be. They're breathing the kind of tangle that only happens when you're not thinking, you're just acting, and your brain is off duty. It wasn't cinematic. It wasn't beautiful. It was ugly in the human way, where everything you own becomes evidence and even the air takes sides. I didn't shout. I didn't flip the mattress. My body did the weirdest thing, laughed. A dry, ridiculous laugh like a balloon squeaking past your ear. She jerked upright, eyes wide, mouth already forming the little half-moon of "it's not what it looks like," the phrase that somehow always means it is exactly what it looks like. He slid off the bed and tried to stand with the dignity of a man leaving a board meeting, not a man caught in someone else's life. "Son," he said, and I promise you I felt my soul leave the chat. "Son." The music in the living room hit a bass drop like the stupid soundtrack to a bad decision. I stepped backward, shut the door, and stood in the hallway staring at the happy birthday banner we'd taped crookedly above the frame earlier. The bee glared at me like it was ashamed of its life choices.